shot, one chance, one move, one dance, one shot. Brace yourself for the best. One shot.
Hello and welcome everybody to another night of NECC Overwatch here on the Saints Gaming channel. My name, as always, is Shadi Zedihana, joined alongside Mr. Dan Banners. Danners, we've got a great game tonight between the St. Clair Saints and Central Methodist University Esports. I'm really excited to see these two teams pit off against each other, as I am sure you are as well. What do we got coming down the pipeline tonight in our games?
Okay, so with this CMU squad, it's in theory going to be a neck and neck one here. Of course, our St. Clair squad is currently sitting around 3-1 here in NEC so far, only going down to Becker College, which has been one of those schools that's just kind of had our number in Overwatch over the past couple of weeks. So fair enough, going to be a tough rival there. But then CMU, of course, at least as of right now, because of course our score wasn't completely updated on their site, but they're at least 2-2. So in theory, should be a neck-and-neck battle here. Looking forward to seeing who we have on the side of CMU as well. Looks like we have... Actually, I have the roster right here in front of me. So we have George, Twice, Drippy, Faison, Swiftly, and Andy on the side of CMU. Then, of course, your hometown squad. You're going to have Commanda and Imp on support available, and Kale as DPS players, and then Apostle and Prince-Wada taking care of the tank line sort of side of things here this time by. But I'm curious as to how this match is going to turn out in regards to the maps that are selected, because I mean, let's be honest, we're probably going to see Kings Row at least once, but NECC does things a little bit differently compared to the other leagues. I know it's baited me a few times. It's technically a best of 3, but regardless of the results, we are playing all 3 matches here tonight and give everybody a good one bang for their buck. Helps with tiebreaker scenarios, win-loss differentials, and such as well. So they are actually asking right now if we are pretty much good to go. So I'm going to let them know in just a second that we're going to get ready to hop into the game. It looks like Nepal is where we're going to be starting.
That's an interesting map that we haven't seen too often as for our control style maps. Typically, we're seeing teams prefer Yijang Tower or even Oasis as that control style. But going into this game, Nepal is a really fun map. There's a lot of different variants on the map and a lot of different ways that you can attack those points. So it's going to be really cool to see how these teams decide to approach that point. Was chatting with one of our former Overwatch players just before the cast about some of these patch changes coming out live just today, in fact. And it looks like there were some adjustments to Genji's overall damage and then some buffs to Mei as well. To see a Genji nerf and a Mei buff on the same patch. Kind of feels like Genji's getting a really two ends of the same sword there on those changes. But it's going to be interesting to see if teams end up picking him up today and how those new changes actually impact his overall damage output.
Absolutely, definitely going to be something to keep an eye on. It's going to be interesting. I think you're saying Genji's damage got buffed a bit, if I recall correctly. Sorry, I was kind of listening to 2 things at once there. But anytime Genji is good, it always makes me nervous.
It's more of an adjustment to his damage and a buff to Mei, which I think is going to be really interesting to see because we've already started seeing teams pick up Mei as that strong defensive answer. We were talking about it on our last cast, I believe, 4-play versus that Mei choice on defense on Kings Row, getting value out of that wall to set up the point. And already here looking at these teams, actually no team deciding, oh, there is a Genji. There is.
Yep, Andy.
Well done, Andy. We've got Andy on the Genji, so we'll have to see how those changes actually impact. But right off the start, available with the snipe onto Drippy, it's going to be huge. Already forcing out the res from Faison to lead off this round. That's a really big pick to lead off the round.
Absolutely. Just outright winning that sniper-esque duel there, taking care of Drippy's Ash, but at the same time, though, you did have FaZe in there on support ready to go with the Resurrection. Prince Wada, anytime I see him here on this Wrecking Ball, I'm usually holding my breath because time and time again, he either overextends or just pops off massively, and I thought that was about to be an overextension, but he keeps himself alive here. Apostle going to be leading the charge here for the Saints onto the point, but he's definitely taking a ton of damage, but he's almost taking care of the other tank, but not quite going to find it, as we do see Balebo still sticking with the sniper side of things. Kale, of course, with these sniper long-range styled DPS characters, that's just basically 2 less characters that are going to actually try and contest the point. You're really putting your faith in these in the tanks to be able to hold that position then. So it's going to be a little bit more difficult here for the Saints unless they can get themselves a decisive win, as we see Drippy take care of Commanda.
Yeah, absolutely. However, it is something to be worth noting that on this map, playing off the point is typically better than playing on it, just because of how difficult it is to actually establish yourself on the point. That being said, CMU has done a very good job of getting that first touch and holding it. You could actually see there was a period of time where after capping, not a single body was on the point, and instead everyone was playing off the point, holding those high ground angles, trying to get those long distance picks, because it's just so much more dangerous to be cornered onto that point. You're at risk of getting booped off the map. You're at risk of getting flanked from the inner room. Like, there's just not a lot of movement available to you. So teams will typically take this style of approach here, where they hold one of these high rooms, high angles, charge up their ultimates, and then go for a big push. Speaking of ultimates, Prince Wada does have the mines available. Kale does actually fall off the... Oh, that's Bob, I believe. Kale sent out Bob, and Bob goes plummeting to his death. That's not a great use of 100% ultimate charge, unfortunately, but St. Clair are able to pick up a couple kills here. 2 kill trades back and forth. Prince Wada diving into the backline here, trying to do some damage as Andy just shreds the backline of St. Clair. This push, it was looking good for St. Clair, and now it's really starting to come to fruition. A double kill for Apostle with a double kill for Prince Wada. These tanks are just popping off, and St. Clair is going to be able to get the recap at 80%.
All right, it managed to make it happen. Could have been a little bit cleaner. Unfortunately there for Kale, the ultimate just completely missed the mark, fell right off the map, but Prince Wada and the rest of the Saints squad able to get themselves on that point and at least flip it. 80% now on the board for the Central Methodist University. Definitely one solid fight, and they can get themselves right back into threatening for this first round. However, Saints, they only have the nano boost. They're going to give it to Prince Wada, and he's going to charge right on in. Does not have his pile driver available, however, though. He's not going to pop it at least this moment. Swiftly, nearly going down here, but hangs on tight. Nice sleep coming out here from George, and that's going to shut down any sort of onslaught that Prince Wada was probably thinking about mustering up here. No resources until we see a wall hacks coming out from available. That's not going to be the most useful, but they're going to try and make it happen anyway. That's going to be Andy. Nano boosted, charging on in. Commanda just trying to dodge a Genji, but just cannot quite stay alive long enough to keep herself in the game. But that being said, Prince Wada has been running amok here on the point itself and making this so that it's not flipping. Saints are still gathering up more and more percent. Nice shot there from Available to finish off twice there on the Sigma. And now Saints able to recuperate after what I thought was going to be a nano-boosted Genji tear-through.
You gotta give props to Available for the way that he's playing this round. Like, yeah, his name isn't all over the kill feed, but every time we get his perspective, we're seeing these headshots, these body shots. He's constantly applying pressure from a distance, and he's forcing out some really awkward engages from CMU. We've already seen George commit 2 nano blades, and both of them are, nano boosts. And both of them have been on an unbladed Genji. And that's what Andy looks like without the nano boost, unfortunately. Just gets rocked by Apostle at melee range. And it's these awkward forces and picks that are really just creating these wide open spaces for St. Clair to exploit. CMU putting their ultimates on cooldown, their core abilities, for 1-to-1 trades. It's never worth it in your value if you're committing an ultimate or even 2 and you're trading 1-for-1 against the enemy. That's huge value for St. Clair. And it's because of plays like that that St. Clair is going to be able to get the first cap on this point here, 100% to 80% to lead us off on map 1.
I mean, it doesn't matter if you can find yourself the kills if you aren't on the points. Unfortunately there for Andy, finds himself a double, but not going to matter. So first round of game number 1, we're going to go into the pocket of St. Clair, but of course these first round, or these assault maps, I think is what it's called, is always a best of 3 in itself, so not quite done just yet. And we're seeing a little bit more of a standard composition coming out here from the Saints, just with an added May here for available.
I mean, this is kind of what I was talking about, right? Is that last point on Nepal is infamous for wanting to hold those high angles, but when you have a point like this, where you want to get into the room, you want to get into the hut, and you want to hold that spot, you don't really have the flexibility of those long angles to go for picks, especially with those two walls really preventing any outside access into the point. You can see right here how that point is kind of set up and established. Getting a Reinhardt is almost essential for this point, and you can see already St. Clair have that shield advantage where CMU is running a more divey approach. Already the Winston jumping in, trying to do his damage. There's the Sombra on the back with the hacks, but the Winston falls almost immediately to Kale. Kale just doing absolute work on this Reaper, blowing him up at melee range. Prince Wada getting the pick off onto FaZe, and it should be able to shut down CMU's initiation here, as they picked off both the heal and the tank. Very hard to approach a point when you're down two valuable resources, and now Kale just absolutely shredding through twice. Does actually manage to get the heal up though. Twice gets the 1v1 onto Apostle. And now St. Clair, they've managed to get the captain already at 15% here. And they're doing whatever they can to hold their ground, charge up these ultimates. Wada already at 75%. One more fireball should do it. One more well-aimed fireball. And now St. Clair just doing what they can to slow things down a little bit, not get blown up too fast. But Imp, that sleep is absolutely huge. CMU should be able to flip the point, and they do. St. Clair now has to take this time to reset, regroup, and look for another push.
Yeah, just don't keep throwing yourself at the point. Just hang on a second. Group up here. Of course, we're going to have a bunch of resources available. One thing I'm obviously going to be keeping an eye on here is the Shatter here for Prince Wada. In theory, you could either pair this up with the Blizzard from Available's May, or you can just try to use the Shatter just outright, or just use the Blizzard outright just to try and save some of those resources, considering how early into the game this is. Both teams sitting at about 30%. And to be honest, the high ground capture here for the side of Central Methodist, not really going to be doing too much. They're going to have to come on down, and Saints have just been able to walk right on. This is a solid EMP, though, coming out here from Andy. A nice job there. That shield from, from Prince Wada, not going to be able to be used. Kale still in the game, however. A nice shot down there on the Drippy as he pops his Deadeye. That ultimate completely wasted. Saints going to flip this back in their favor.
I'm gonna be honest, Anders, I'm looking at this game, and like, even though CMU is managing to get themselves on the point and rack up some decent percentage, it always feels like St. Clair is in complete control of the situation. Their draft is better, their ultimate usage is better. It's just like, it's actually odd how much CMU is able to get away with, considering the fact that St. Clair is outplaying them in nearly every single way. This next fight is going to be absolutely massive. You have the Shatter, and you have the Death Blossom, and there's also a sound barrier to keep you alive if anything goes wrong. Like, there is literally no way this fight goes badly for St. Clair, and they're happy to just chill and not commit any resources. And finding the melee kill onto Andy is available, picks up a kill onto Swifty. St. Clair still with all of their ultimates available. This should be a wash. This actually should be the game, but CMU has absolutely nothing to fall back on. They're just getting trickled in their spawn. St. Clair is still holding on to 4 ultimates, and there is less than 10% left on this point.
At this point, Apostle could basically just throw the Graviton right in the doorway from wherever they show up, and it'll shut them down. We have 4 seconds essentially left here, and it's probably going to be 4 knots. Somebody snuck onto the point, actually. Who got there? That is going to be the Sombra from Andy. Going to at least shut it down for a second. Here comes the Graviton just to strictly take care of Swiftly. He was the closest one anywhere near this point. They take him down. St. Clair going to take game number 1 in rather decisive fashion.
I don't want to speak too soon or get caught lacking on stream again, but I have a feeling this one's going to be a quick one tonight. It's just such a good performance from St. Clair. Like, there's literally no situation where they're not in control of the narrative. They are setting the pace, they're setting the tempo. Anytime CMU is on the point, it's because St. Clair allowed them to be there. Like, that's what it looks like, and that's how it feels. I mean, maybe this is just me. Maybe I'm just, talking a lot of smack here, but it's looking really good for St. Clair coming off of map 1.
Oh, absolutely. It says wonders when a team could just clean up a team fight like that very last one, have ultimates available, but just ignore it completely. We don't even need ultimates to win against you on this 5-on-5. Just separate the team, like shatter them, or not shatter them, but shatter their souls, if anything. No Reinhardt shattered, nonetheless, but being able to save that for the next fight, knowing that it was probably going to be the make or break one, but then even still, just chasing them down, getting them staggered to the point where somebody had to just try and rush for the site itself to try and get overtime. Even then, just could not get any additional reinforcements after Andy Sombra touched, and it was pretty clean, to say the least, there from St. Clair. Very decisive, in theory, if this was a standard best of 3, I would say this is setting up to be a quick one for tonight. But no matter what, of course, we are going to have 3 games here in this series. Looking forward to seeing if CMU can pull it back, though. Maybe Nepal just wasn't necessarily their strong suit as of right now. I'm seeing Nambani hovered for the next map, but it could very well switch still. Teams do have a couple minutes before hopping on in.
Numbani would be an interesting choice, especially considering CMU's playstyle. I did want to touch a little bit on their draft selection. They seem to favor these like dive-style tanks along with these long-range damage threats. They're not really interested in contesting points 5v5. They seem to struggle with using shields and also playing against shields. They prefer to kind of subvert them altogether. And if there's ever going to be an escort map, or rather an assault escort map, to enable that style of play, Numbani is probably one of the best. You have all these really good high point angles that you can use for your snipers, for your divers to get onto the point and then reset back up top to an aerial point of view. So maybe we'll see a better performance from CMU when the map is more in their favor. But all in all, they really got to clean up their draft selection. Like, they were running Winston Zarya with a Sombra DPS lead. Like, not only is there no damage on that team, but you don't have anybody to actually support the Winston when he goes in for the all-in. We saw time and time again, Swiftly was going to jump in by himself with the Zarya bubble, lose the shield immediately, take almost entire health bar in one trade, and then reset, sometimes getting out with his life, oftentimes not. And it just wasn't doing anything for their team. He was getting his ultimate fast, but he was off the map for extended periods of time. And it's things like that that St. Clair and any team really at this level of play is going to be able to exploit and just keep pushing on until you lose the entire series. So CMU, really, they've got to pull it together for this next map.
And the setup Saints have here is going to be kind of interesting. It looks like they're setting up for almost like a teleport plus pirate ship kind of style if they can capture this nice and quickly. We'll have to see. I'm going to keep an eye on actually Kale here. Where is this teleporter going to come down? What are they trying to do with it? We have plenty of shields. We have plenty of protection. Commando's going to be rocking the... oh, I like this. Hang on a second. We're going up to the high ground right away. This should now mean a field day for Bailable. But actually, there was the contest there from Swiftly. Constantly hopping himself back up there, but it's a matter if he can keep himself alive. And so far, this has been negated here by the side of Central Methodist. It hasn't been perfect, but they have been able to at least slow it down. Bailable still here alongside Imp. A nice shot there from Bailable to take care of George on the on-up, but they're getting flanked from 2 ends. He's eventually going to go down here. Nothing you can do. Solid job there from Drippy and the rest of Central Methodist to not fall for the Saints cheese.
I think St. Clair just got really cocky after that first map. Like, maybe they heard what I was saying on cast and they're like, yeah, this is the quick one. They try to go for the Bastion symmetric combo and just not happening. It's a little too cocky. Like, you have to give your opponent a little bit of respect. And going for a play like that is just assuming that they really have no eyes and no hands. And unfortunately for St. Clair, CMU do possess those vital body parts. So going into this map, it's just not going to go your way trying to pull that play here. Finally, taking a more traditional approach, forcing up the stairway. Prince Wada is going to be able to take the lead here, finding that first pick onto Swiftly. And with no mercy available on the side of CMU, there is not going to be a res, which means Swiftly needs to take the long walk of shame back to the point. And on Numbani, that is just death. 5 players now dropping on the side of CMU should be an easy cap for St. Clair. And it's just like that. When you start playing the game traditionally, when you don't get cocky, when you don't like force anything that, you know, should never happen, this is what you get. You get a clean, solid performance from St. Clair.
That moment when you're able to boop the Echo. Can't an Echo fly?
Yeah, that's a strange one. I was definitely scratching my head at that one a little.
Well, I mean, probably just didn't want to get staggered, to be completely honest. But still, that just looks kind of funny from looking at the kill feed. But now, Saints getting aggressive, continuing to push on forward here. Bailable going to take care of Faison, who is basically caught in a bit of a pickle because, of course, they were all the way back at that first initial spawn point. Which it only ran up like halfway through, then the spawn point switched. So it's like, oh gosh, where's my team? And there's nothing you can do.
That's an unfortunate situation. Like, the macro call was totally off there for CMU. George actually SD to get the faster respawn and reset on point, but then you have your Brigida just walking alone, like just Lone Rangering it back to the point. And it just really puts you in this awkward situation where now you're not only down a heal, but your other healer is taking the deep spawn back to point. So getting absolutely blown up, and you can see St. Clair still caught abusing that. Kale with the 3K, gonna absolutely pick that up and just destroy this point here. St. Clair should be able to cap this in one clean sweep. I don't think the cart has stopped moving since they've started pushing it. Kale with 1 HP. Do you see that, ladies and gentlemen? The man has no limits. He will push and push until his life is hanging by a thread. Kale popping off on that last point, literally surviving with 1 health. What a great job from St. Clair to get this right to the 3rd point, and it's just still going, Dan.
Yeah, Diva Bomb's going to find one. Unfortunately there for Prince Wada, that Shatter is going to just eat nothing but shield. Good block from Swiftly. But we still have a bunch of ultimates still on board here. Commanda pops down that amplification matrix as well. Bonus healing, bonus damage for anything that passes through that. So with Kale sitting, or was sitting right behind it until the cart moved a little bit too far, was doing an absolute ton of damage. Kale has just been finding these left clicks, finding these shots here with this revolver, and finding so much damage. And we're going to also have Death Blossom available. I hear a Graviton. That's going to be twice firing that one out, but it's not going to matter. It's going to be Saints, as it's going to be Apostle gobbling up that Graviton from twice, just going to completely waste that ultimate. Everything is going in Saints' favor. There's going to be the EMP coming down here from Andy, but it's going to be another block as the Shatter from Swiftly goes down with no success, and that Saints are just going to continue to 1-on-1, or just 1-by-1 rather, all of these players. Swift Drippy not going to get out of that one alive, or no, never mind, he is actually going to go out of this one alive. Never mind, I'm a bot. We have ourselves a 3-cap.
I love that play-by-play calling. Oh, he did it. Oh, no, he didn't. Oh, yeah, he did it. It's just beautiful. It's really the way this game plays out sometimes, you know. But for St. Clair, what's the story here is a 3-0 with 3.5 minutes remaining on a map that most people don't even finish capping the first point. That is just massive. Like, Numbani is one of those maps where you have this really strong defender's advantage at first, but if you lose it, if you break for even a second, this is what happens. You get completely dominated on the point, the payload gets all the way there, and all of a sudden you're stuck in this awkward situation where you not only have to play out of your minds, but you have to play out of your minds for like 8 minutes in a row. And CMU, I mean, based on what we've seen so far today, I just don't know if they have it in them.
They definitely seem to be falling a little bit behind here, and I'm just looking at the past couple of rounds, I'm not even 100% confident that they will be able to take even this first section. Or if they do, it's probably going to be within the last couple of seconds, and then they might find themselves shut down on the streets phase, but at the same time, like you said, once you capture this one, it's usually not too bad. Like, the defender's sidedness kind of goes away a little bit. And
that second point is hard to control from defense. Absolutely.
Yeah.
There's just so much space and so many angles that you can attack from. So it's really awkward to hold it on that second point. So you'll usually see teams choke it out on either the first point or closer towards the end is usually where you find these big like gunfights and bloodbaths on this map. So really for CMU, it's finding a decisive way to break this first point early so that you have the time to take that fight on that third point.
a tank line up high, and the rest of the Saints going to be there to battle it out as well. Baleable taking a little bit of heat to start things off, but keeps himself topped off. And if there's anybody who is going to love a top little skirmish here, it's probably going to be Imp here on this Brig, just constantly doing as much damage as possible, while also healing everybody at the same time. I think that's a solid value in itself, and as we see that, Saints are going to melt two pretty quickly. Andy goes down, Phazon goes down, as well as Swiftly. Saints are going to be able to send them back to the spawn, at least for this start. One pushed gone.
I would have loved to see St. Clair try to trickle out Phazon a little bit there. After they forced off the rest of his team, Phazon was kind of left alone on the point, just dancing around. Yeah, it's a Lucio. Yeah, he's hard to lock down, but you have about a 7 to 8 second window where you can really force your lead a little bit. Because seeing a little bit more of that discipline on these points, I feel like they're getting away with a lot of things against this team, but this is one of those situations where, you know, as someone that comes from that coaching perspective or background, like, do what you can, make the most of this situation, see how far you can push your lead and advantage. Now, up in the top, Drippy actually did manage to get the Deadeye completely charged up and finds that pick onto Wada. This could be the opening that CMU needed after picking up that crucial tank line, but they're yet to touch the point after that pick. Wada is not going to be long from this point. He's playing Winston. He can get back back pretty quickly, so CMU has to take advantage of that space now. They do find the pick once available, but Kale up on the top has the Deadeye, gets knocked by Andy. The triple kill for Andy. That should do it. The Echo absolutely cleaning up the point for CMU, and St. Clair gonna have to respect this first point and get ready on that second. Andy is not done yet. He wants blood. He is chasing onto available, or water rather, and he's gonna find the kill. An absolutely stellar performance from Andy on that last point.
Yeah, like, Saints were in a position where they were ahead, but it's one of those positions, like, say, like you were talking in regards to the coaching side of things, you probably could have been ahead more. And now that's kind of biting them here because they are just absolutely tearing through the St. Clair squad. CMU finally getting themselves on that first point, got the cart moving, and they finally have some positive momentum for themselves. Deadeye gonna just assist in helping finish off Apostle. He's not going to be long for this world. Takes care of him there. And Saints are going to have to be forced to regroup back at this third point as it's basically smooth sailing now here for CMU to see how far they can push this thing.
St. Clair does actually have the time to contest the second point. I wonder if they're even going to do it. It's only about halfway there, and you can already see Swiftly is really cheating up on this point. He's pushing very far ahead. Wada's set up. He looks like he might want to contest, and I would honestly love to see St. Clair try to push in on this point. I think they can hold them here a little bit. They have the time to get established. They have some ultimates available, but Drippy with the double Deadeye kill. That is going to be huge for CMU, and St. Clair gets absolutely punished on the defense. Available does have the Death Blossom available, but he's so low, and all of his teammates are gone. This isn't going to be the moment. He's just going to teleport his way out of there, try to find the 1v1 onto Andy, but oh my gosh, Imp actually does manage to help him clean that up. Available does end up going down to Swiftly, but they do get the pick onto Andy. This should be able to slow down CMU just a tad as they get that point capped on the second there. Now, CMU has 4 minutes and 30 seconds remaining, just a full minute on St. Clair now, and they're already on point 3.
Yeah, in all seriousness, CMU doing a fantastic job after those first initial like dud pushes, but they finally got it going now. We do see Deadeye coming out here from Kale. Is he going to find any? He's going to find 2 on both of the supports. Perfect Deadeye. Exactly what you want to see. A little bit of an overkill, in my opinion, here coming out with this Death Blossom. However, it is going to still be effective. Unfortunate teleport there from Available. I'm getting maybe a little bit overzealous, but in the end, Saints are still going to capture this, or not capture, but they're going to defend this cart for the first time in a little bit, kill some of the time on the clock, get it to the point where they'll be in the lead if this does go to a 3-3, like 2 full caps. But wish they had themselves a Death Blossom right here, as we're going to be kind of relying on this Diva Bomb, and it's going to find Phazon again. He's having himself a hard time these next couple fights.
Job from Apostle, starting off the team fight right with the double kill. Prince Wada and Kill also finding themselves onto the kill feed. Available wants to join in as well, and that's 5 going down on the side of CMU. I was gonna say, you know, as unfortunate as it is maybe to commit such a high value ultimate like the Death Blossom, I actually didn't hate the way that it was used by Available, because it's kind of like one of those tempo plays, right? You've been conceding a lot of space to the enemy this entire game. You've just picked off both of their supports. Like, if there's ever a time to commit an ultimate and just get a ton of value out of it, it's right then and it's right there. And St. Clair used that space to get themselves in a much better position on this point. That flashbang coming out onto Phazon from Kale rather is going to mean Available can get the cleanup. And now again, St. Clair with that target focus finds the kill onto both supports. Imp now free to just do as much damage as he wants, getting actually a kill for himself in the backline. And St. Clair is just looking completely different than they were on those first 2 points, winning out on every team fight, every gunfight. Their target focus is immaculate, and it's because of that well-coordinated attack that they're able to find these wins on this point.
The scrappy nature coming out here from CMU, however, is kind of catching Saints a little bit off guard here and there. These fights aren't super decisive. Sure, Saints are ending up winning them in the end, but it's not as crazy as it's been. That's going to be Phazon again, just going to get absolutely popped before the team fight even starts. Is he even allowed to play? Should he might as well just disconnect from the game, because every time he hops into a team fight, he just gets murked. Poor dude. But we're going to hop on in as the Saints are continuing to push on forward into the spawn. Available, going to make those shotguns go long range and take care of Andy. Just enough damage to finish him off. Imp, Commanda, and Available, all with ultimates available. We're going to have Apostle and Prince Wada ready in the wake as well by the time this next fight starts. So this next team fight for St. Clair should, in theory, be rather decisive, but we'll have to see how much they use and when.
I mean, for Sinclair, the point started off looking a little rough, but they're already up 2 minutes on CMU. They've got a lot of space to work with and a lot of utility here on this next push. That Graviton Surge coming up from Twice accomplished absolutely nothing. Just completely denied by the healing. Available, committing to Death Blossom. Gets another pick onto Phazon. He can't even play the video game. Poor guy. And now Available doing so much damage in the front line as Apostle Wada clean up on the front line. Now St. Clair, with 1 minute left on the timer, they still have the Shatter available, and they have plenty of time for both Kale and Bailable to rack up more ultimate charge, whereas CMU really, they only really riding on this Ryan ultimate. This replacement, this swap from Echo might be able to do a little bit for Andy, but really it's just going to come down to, can they find that pick? Can they lead off this team fight right? And the swap to the Reinhardt might actually be the choice that Andy needed to make there. Does get the first shatter, but Wada hits him back and stuns him in place. Not able to find much value. They're swiftly pushing and trying to get some more damage done. They are able actually to force St. Clair off the point here with those usage of their ultimates, but St. Clair has lots of space to shoot and fire away. Kale almost hit the Deadeye available,
wow,
but completely getting zoned off the point. Nobody touched.
C9, baby. We have ourselves a game, 3-3 now. Of course, since CMU did capture themselves the 3 points, they are going to at least get themselves a minute on the clock. Which, I mean, of course, Saints definitely going to be in an advantage here, considering they have 4 minutes on the clock compared to the 1 to be able to get that first spot.
I don't care. St. Clair just got C9'd in their own face. What? I am shooketh right now. How does that happen? They just capped the point looking at you. What?
Yeah. The pressure was just too much, apparently. Like, they were kind of stuck in that corner of the final point, and just for whatever reason, nobody was really able to get moving. Prince Wada was sitting at about half of his health as well. I think Apostle might have been either down or very close to going down, so with both tank lines not being confident to go in, you then kind of have to rely on a support or a DPS basically sacrificing themselves to touch that point, and they were just not quite ready and waiting to actually pull that off. So unfortunately there for the Saints, they are going to give up that 3 points, but they still are in this game. They just have to hold off for about a minute here on this point, or otherwise you're going to have to rely on the Streets phase.
It's just so unlucky for St. Clair. Like, you have, like, New York is one of those maps where your spawn is short enough that you can actually successfully trickle defense on that point. As long as you have one body on point and you're able to get some picks on your rotations, they have a longer walk back, and eventually you'll win out on the kill trade. And it's just so odd that St. Clair didn't make the choice. I guess their ult tracking just wasn't set up properly to not know what was happening. But anyways, we're on a 3rd round now. There's no time to dwell on the past. St. Clair showing a marvelous defense so far. That beautiful flashbang onto George is going to blow him up as soon as he gets there. The Bastion did manage to establish on point though. So St. Clair, despite all the great work they've done, it was actually not as clean as it originally looked. Andy did a great job of getting that damage down, and sent CMU really hitting St. Clair with the Uno reverse, trying to get that Symmetra Bastion to work. It looks like they are going to switch off their DPS line, however, going back to the Echo and then as well. Available with the beautiful shot onto Phazon to pick that up. Kale doing some damage onto George from the high ground and already losing 3. This is not looking good for CMU. That's 4. Can we make it 5? Andy says no, getting a kill trade onto Kale. But St. Clair doing a great job of holding their defense onto this point. And CMU looks like when you can't get that cheese strat to work with no time left, it's already in overtime, gents. I don't know how this is going to end up for you. That bar is kicking down. The ball is coming to the point, but Wada, with the charge, going to throw that ball right up against the wall. And there it goes. St. Clair now have 4 minutes to get the dub.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. CMU almost pulled the exact same strat that Saints did on their first initial attacking round. But unfortunately, not everybody actually made it to the teleporter. I think the teleporter got blown up before the Bastion could even get up there, and they were just not able to actually complete it. Granted, there was still a bit of a back and forth. They got about three or so kills on the Saints, but they were just didn't respawn quick enough and didn't just pull the trigger with only a minute left. They should have just hopped on in there and just gunned it for the point as quick as possible. Get your Lucio to move speed boost you. And that way, you have yourself a 6-on-3 for probably a couple seconds. And of course, you only need a couple seconds in this to get yourself in the advantage state and maybe find yourself a couple of initial kills before the actual 6-on-6 goes down. So,
Yeah, I mean,
a little bit too slow.
With CMU, it's just like, you know, you have to expect that cheese strat if you're St. Clair. There's a minute left on the clock. You're playing Numbani. It's a long walk to the point from the spawn on the attacker's side. So you kind of had to see that coming. And I feel like St. Clair, the reason CMU is getting these fights that look like they're a lot closer than they should be is because St. Clair isn't respecting them enough in these situations. Like, yes, we're playing better. Yes, we're finding wins. Yes, we're winning out on gunfights. Their support can't even play the game. But we're still just giving them so much space to do these things that are basically textbook, right? Any team with less than a minute or 30 seconds on an attack point like this is going to pull something wonky out. It's usually going to be the Symmetra. It's usually going to be the Bastion because they know that these plays are high tempo and they need to pull them. So St. Clair really needs to start looking at these games, and even though they have this win, they have to predict this stuff. You can already see Drippy with the defensive Bastion finding the kick onto Wada. It caught them off guard again. I don't know what's happening here for St. Clair. They have this lead, they have this tempo, but they're just not playing like it. Andy popping off with the double headshot onto Commanda and Bailable. Everyone on St. Clair is just going to hop off the map and start it off from scratch. You have 3 minutes and 30 seconds to get your stuff together. But honestly, for St. Clair, like, this got to be way more decisive.
I mean, if there's anything I've learned from my solo queue ranked days, if there's something that's textbook, it's an overtime defense. There's going to be a Bastion. And the fact that, like, Wada still got absolutely melted, and then Andy, to his own credit, he found some nice shots. He absolutely crushed it. But the fact that it took Saints off guard was very surprising to me. But anyway, second attack underway. Luckily there for the St. Clair side of things, they do have still 3 minutes on the clock, and they're going to go right head on with this Bastion unless Drippy decides to move. No, he's just going to go open fire, try and go shot for shot here, and thankfully for Drippy, he shoots a lot faster than a lot of these other Saints members. They're going to wait up, group on up, and let's see if this is the meat grinder or if they're going to be able to pull on through here. Lots of shields, and Drippy going to get saved by the invulnerability fields from his partner, George, and they are actually going to defend this very nicely. Saints just whipped themselves into the meat grinder twice, going to find himself the triple.
Yeah. God, that was just a little bit mind-numbing, a little bit, if I'm being honest. You're playing into a Bastion, Orisa, Sigma, Mercy, BAP, and you're trying to brute force your way into a Bastion. I mean, they had a good look. I'm not going to lie. It looked like it was going to be a lot more successful than it ever should have. But as soon as that Immortality field came up and Saints didn't have an answer, it just looked so bad. Bastion just wrecking through St. Clair. And now they not only have to fight into the Bastion comp, but they have to fight into the Bastion comp with 3 ultimates available. There is one getting committed by Andy. He actually found the flank and caught Saints on the rotation, not able to pick up a pick, however. So that ult's going to go to waste. But Drippy is still fully established on this high ground. He has his shields, he has his damage boost from the Mercy, and he's got his ultimate as well. So for St. Clair, with a minute and 30 seconds left, they have to make this work, and they're just going to do it again.
Definitely
They're just going to do it again. They actually put a kick onto Drippy, though. That's huge. Drippy goes down. There is still the res available for Phazon, and Swiftly getting double kill for CMU is going to be huge. They're going to force St. Clair off this point now. With a minute left, St. Clair really, at this point, it's just about getting that ultimate charge and doing what you can with it. So it looked bad. Like, it looked bad, but they got the pick onto the Bastion, and they got a ton of ultimate charge out of it. Maybe this is what St. Clair was trying to do all along, is just cheese the ult charge. I don't know. I'm trying to make sense of it. It's just crazy what I'm watching here.
Yeah, of course, it would definitely make sense for like throwing a couple of these attacks away just to have everybody have ultimates and then just kind of go in for one fell swoop, because you only need 1/3. But now, oh my goodness, Andy, that huge headshot on the Kale is actually going to shut things down. They would have wanted to have that Dragon. That would have instantly shut down a Bastion, and he's going to have to try and whip it out for glory from the spawn. And the Saints are going to basically have to 5v6 this unless they just wait till the very possible last second. Where is Kale? He is on his way. But I think they still have to start this fight sooner before he even gets here. Coming in close, and at least spots a couple out. Andy, just with these shots, have been absolutely crazy here in this overtime round. A lot of low health bars, actually, here on the side of CMU. This might be the one, but here comes the tank. It's going to go down. Bailable's going to start tearing things up here with the rest of the Saints, and they are going to be able to eventually catch this one off guard. It was looking scary, but the Saints pull it off.
Well done from St. Clair. You know what? Maybe they hit us with the bait and switch. I'm not going to lie. Maybe I was being a little too harsh, a little too judgmental to start that off. But it just looked like they were smacking their head against the brick wall, trying to dive into a Bastion Orisa. Like, I don't know, man. It just looked goofy. But St. Clair, I guess they knew how much time they had, and they played the long game, getting that 5 ultimate push right towards the end there to seal the deal. Just a really strong execution from this team. Yeah, maybe it looked sloppy. Yeah, it wasn't the cleanest way to approach it, but they found a creative way of handling the Bastion Mercy, and they got they got the win. So who am I to judge?
I mean, you can kind of tell the coaching side of things coming out between you and I, the coach's mindset and whatnot. Like, okay, yes, you won, but this could have been done better. But at the actual grand scheme of things, it did work. It, like you're saying, not necessarily the cleanest. It made Drippy and the rest of CMU look like absolute legends for holding that up 4 minutes of pure defense on that first point for as long as they did was impressive in its own right. Saints weren't able to just hit W and left click and go for it, which game 1 kind of looks like they could. But this means, of course, that Saints, in the overall picture, have won this series. That being said, though, of course, we still do have to play game number 3. See if we can get ourselves 3 points on the board to help us going into the long-term session here in the NECC. Get as much points as possible in this victory. And it's going to probably be one of the first games in a long time. You could probably hear it in the background. For once, we have a Saints match with no Kings Row in the slightest. We're going to be going to Dorado for game number 3 in just a moment. And if it's not Kings Row, I'd rather it be Dorado. Saints sometimes look comfortable here. We'll have to see.
I love Dorado, and I think for a team like St. Clair that wants to brute force using these shields, especially this Reinhardt Zarya that they've been playing for most of the season, it's a great map to do that from. But actually, looking at this initial composition, they have 30 seconds to change it up, of course, on the offensive side, but they're looking at going for the Orisa Roadhog. This is another very popular strategy on Dorado. You get that Orisa set up on top of the payload, you establish the shield, you put your DPS behind, and you basically 3-man like paddy wagon your way through the point, and you have this Roadhog looking to find those picks, because Dorado is infamous for having these really back spawns on the defensive side. If you get picked off early on this map, it is such a long and lonely road back to the point. So the Roadhog pick is a really nice pick from St. Clair. I like to see it on this map, because if you can get value out of that initial pick, you can basically win the point in the first 15 seconds.
And then I like what the Saints did here. They take a peek for just a second, then hop back in, switch their team comp accordingly. Kiel going to switch off the McCree over to the Ashe. That's mainly the only... Or no, Prince Wada did switch off of... Or the tank line completely made their switch here. So no Orisa Hog this time by. The Bastion up in the top would just plow through the bunker, so fair enough. Don't blame them for making the switch. Prince Wada going to be able to jump on in to that high ground if necessary, with the assistance of Apostle's shields, of course. And we do have a switch on the DPS side of things as well, where you got Pharmacy coming out here for the Saints.
I mean, CMU, like, I want to say, like, you know, they know what they're doing with this comp, but also it's a Bastion comp, so you can really only give them so much credit for pressing shift and holding down that left mouse button until it breaks. So for St. Clair, really, it's just finding a way to exploit this. It's a cheesy strat, you know. You got to see it coming, especially when you're beating a team this bad. So just finding a way to break through it and break it down. I would have honestly loved to see a Sombra come out. It's a really fun way of messing with the Bastion. If you can get around and get that hack off and just pull them out of turret form, it's such a great way of exploiting that pick. It is a little hard to execute, but I feel like we've seen some really powerful responses from St. Clair's DPS line that they could get away with it. But actually going for a more traditional approach here, just diving on in, Prince Wada gonna face tank the Bastion as available from the skies, finds the pick onto the Mercy and onto the Bastion. Imp with the res onto Wada should mean an easy cap for St. Clair, as available just shreds through CMU's backline here. Wada finding that pick onto Andy is going to be absolutely massive, and there's the team wipe for St. Clair. This should be the cap on this first point, and already they've got the ball rolling with 2 minutes remaining.
Yeah, for whatever reason, Saints' strategy of just dive at it. You having a problem with it? Just dive at it. This time, it is going to be successful, and it had me a little bit worried there, because when you have available on the Pharah and then Imp on the Mercy and whatnot. One of the things, excuse me, that is actually pretty solid at dealing with it would be Bastion. You can melt it right out of the skies. But I mean, it was kind of a blessing that that Drippy went in with the ultimate, because then you don't have to really worry. Hitting the ultimate shot there from the Bastion is on a Pharah is way harder than your standard left click. So a little bit of a blessing in disguise there for the St. Clair side of things. And now we're going to see Prince Wada dive on in. The rest of the Saints going to clean this up nice and quick as well. Twice on Drippy, still in there in the back side of things, but Saints should be able to push us forward just a little bit more.
This will protect us.
Yeah, they did actually manage to take out the pharmacy. So Bailable and Imp are going to have to walk back to the point, and CMU is going to be able to hold it at this far angle for just a little bit. The Graviton getting committed by Apostle is absolutely massive as Bailable returns to the point, getting a ton of shots locked in, but not able to actually find that pick onto Phazon. Means that Drippy is just going to get immediately rezzed up. Here comes the Dragon Strike in from Andy. That's going to get a pick onto Commanda, and St. Clair having a difficult time breaching through the second point. There goes Bob. A little bit of a miscoordinated attack maybe from St. Clair. You know, you lose 2 members, but then you're still committing ultimate. They've committed both the Rocket Barrage and the Bob, and they've only managed to kill trade 1 for 1. Now, Wada falling as well. St. Clair really wasting 2 core ultimates on that push. Just not a good look on this attack. They're going to have to take this time, regroup, reset, and slow things down. You've got 2.5 minutes remaining. There's no urgency, but for some reason, we're just pressing that Q button now.
Yeah, but just going to basically delete any sort of resources we had available. A couple of the Saints often switch their heroes here, as Bailable is going to get off of the Pharah, go switch on over to the Hanzo, so we got basically the double sniper style coming out once again from St. Clair. But now they have like nothing really to combo up with, at least for a little while. Of course, the possible kiss of death here, not coming out of Kale this time by, but from Bailable if he does get his ultimate all charged up, comboed up there with Apostle's Graviton, and Andy picking up right where he left off, going to be just constantly finding some early picks. And it was one of the huge reasons why the CMU squad even made the last game competitive, considering he was able to just constantly find shots. The Prince Wada going to find himself nano boosted, charging on in once again, just Q and W and push in, and it's going to be effective here. Imp even going to get himself into the battle, get out the battle Mercy, and one by one rather, the Saints are going to knock down everybody here from the CMU squad and put this right on the doorstep of checkpoint 2.
Damn, what a beautiful job, man. That was a 5-kill performance, I believe, from the Winston. Obviously, you have the nano boost there. You have your team on the backup, but just knowing his targets and finding those picks, there he goes, just diving in onto Andy as he respawns. Wada is absolutely carrying this point right now with this aggressive Winston performance. Really well done from St. Clair to get that push forward. Has the ultimate available, but doesn't even need to use it. The defensive Bob comes out from Kale, I believe, Drippy does actually manage to commit that ultimate down. It's going to force St. Clair off the point a little bit. Wada has to commit the primal rage just to keep himself alive. Actually loses the health back to Bailable, dropped in from the skies and snuck that away from him as he was looking for it. So now St. Clair, they've got themselves pushed a little bit farther. They haven't quite been able to cap yet, and they just need to take things a little bit slower. That immortality field from George is just going to save him by the end of his life. And now St. Clair, completely forced off this point with a couple ults remaining, are going to have to just regroup and make this is the push that wins or loses the round.
Absolutely, and I would love to have the Graviton Dragon combo available, but it's not going to be here. We have the Graviton here for Apostle, but available a little bit slow still, but a pick like that could absolutely turn this thing around. Kale's going to find George, but George is going to get put right back up. Phazon able to actually play the game here this time, in there with the Resurrection. Where is Apostle? His Graviton could be the door opener here for the Saints to get themselves on, and sure enough, going to charge on through. It's just going to get twice as of this moment, and Imp is going to get destroyed. Do see Prince Wada getting picked up, lifted up, and taken down. Saints are on the point, but right now, solid defense coming out here from the side of CMU. Apostle going to keep sticking to that as best as possible. Try and find somebody here who's in the fight. Apostle still one of the last members alive. Emergency Hammond coming through. Imp is down, but not out. He's going to try and Valkyrie himself into the fray, but he's going to be met instantly. Can he get there and save Prince Wada just in time? Can he get Apostle in? Not in time. Just play after play not necessarily working here for St. Clair, and solid job from CMU. They're going to be able to shut this down right at the second checkpoint.
I looked at that play and I'm thinking, man, if Bailable was just able to get one shot, maybe two, get that Dragon Strike, you can get the clean cap that you're looking for. But Andy did such a good job of getting himself on a flank, shooting that Dragon Strike to totally mess with St. Clair's attacking position, and then finding headshots from an angle that St. Clair had no idea was going to even come at them. So really well done from Andy. Not have to say, like, honestly, I mean, with shooters like this, it's really easy to say that the guy on the kill feed is the best player on your team. That's not always the case, but I think it's without a doubt Andy is just absolutely performing for his team today, really being the one to lead the charge on these defensive pushes. Just a great performance from him, especially on the Hanzo with those those headshots. And it looks like that's what he's going to stick with here on the attack as well. So for St. Clair, really, it's about tracking down the sniper. You know this guy is carrying for his team. How could we handle him better? You're catching out the supports on their missed positions very often, but we're committing so many responses to do it that Andy's just able to fire away at us. So now it's about reassessing that target focus, finding out who that that priority target is, and making that pick to delay that push and slow them down as long as you can.
Low-key, I'm hoping the Saints don't try this house defense again that we saw last week in one of their matches, or I think it was on Monday. They're actually, okay, you know what, never mind going right in front of the house, we are going to go right in front of the spawn. I'm curious to see how this will work out, considering Bailable does have the May wall. Okay, just going to use it right off the start, do a little bit of harassment, but was probably wise that they didn't end up dropping down. But yeah, Bailable's already dead. Drippy going to find himself the headshot this time by, and what a start so far here for the side of Central Methodist University. If they decide to pull the trigger, however, they're kind of just baiting things out, just trying to take the high ground toward the advantage. But now that they found two more, I think they need to go. Sure, they lost Andy, but that's A-okay. He's going to respawn right next to the cart. Best case scenario for him.
That's a big yikes. I mean, you can't be the one to put the skill check to someone and then fail your own skill check. That's just... You can't do that, guys. Come on. Like, we just got held. We just got gate capped on point 2 on Dorado, and you're coming on to defense trying to guard them at the door. Like, this is just really ambitious from St. Clair. So CMU is going to be able to get this free push forward. You know, they get a bunch of ultimate charge off that play. George, Swiftly, and Drippy all within one fight's distance from having their ultimates again. So St. Clair at a huge disadvantage now going into this next point with not a single ultimate available. There's the Sigma ulti already getting dropped. George committing his ultimate as well. It's going to be absolutely huge for CMU. They are only able to pick up a kill onto Imp though, as Kale finds the counter kill onto Andy. Commanda has the wall available now for her team as well in response. And CMU, they had all this space from St. Clair and they didn't do anything with it. Those two ultimates available, nearly a third, and they just wasted them. Again, 2 ultimates for a kill trade is just not the play you want to make.
That was very confusing, but if there's one thing I'm going to give Saints props for, especially here, is the fact that since they were so grouped up, Commanda on the Baptiste was able to constantly do tons and tons of AoE healing, allowing the Saints to get aggressive. But one thing that I'm not necessarily so sure about here is Andy once again finding himself a nice quick pick. Apostle was demech'd and finds the headshot nice and quick. Now this could be the fight that just turns this first initial point, as both support members on the side of the Saints are gone. And so is Bailable. Drippy just on an absolute tear here in this game. Francois going to throw himself at the cart, but there's nothing else he can do. Their Saints are completely outgunned in this situation. Going to have to run for the hills, give up this first point, and try to stop them here at the Streets phase.
Yeah, for St. Clair, I mean, you've lost this second point. Now you know that CMU only has to take it about 60-70% of the way there, like just barely off to that second point. So with that in mind, and they've got all this time left, about 4 minutes, you really need to take things slow and just address the fact that you've been overextending on these points and try to come up with a change. Like, Andy is getting away with so much. You can see him firing an entire empowered clip into Apostle, just getting away with all of that free damage, all of that free ult charge, and there's really no one in position there to punish him. We do get the pick onto twice. Prince Wada finding the hammer kill is going to be able to slow down this push from CMU a little bit, and it's picks like that that can win you these rounds. You get that pick, you force the enemy team to back off, you start pushing the payload back a little bit, but you don't need to overextend, you don't need to force the fight. And here we go again. Immediately after finding that pick, we've trickled a little bit. There's the pick onto FaZe, and this is exactly how you need to play this if you're St. Clair. Imp with the beautiful sound barrier to counter out the Sigma ulti. Swiftly does actually manage to find a pick onto Commanda. That's going to be huge. Both healers going down on the side of St. Clair. Wada does get the counter kill onto George. The Mei ultimate gets committed onto the point. They should be able to slow them down a little bit, but CMU, amongst all of this mess, is still able to find picks. Andy with the triple kill, finding 2 of those with his empowered shots onto Kale and Prince Wada. CMU is going to be able to force this a little bit more.
Gosh, not as only is Andy finding kills, but he's finding the right kills right at the right time, and the rest of CMU coming in clutch as well. Saints, of course, going to be running back from the spawn, try and get back, because they don't have much time. This CMU squad, they don't have to go all the way to the door. It's right on the corner. You kind of see the glowing area on the ground. That's as far as they need to push. And Saints are going to commit and start early. A solid start here for Apostle and Bailable as they do actually find the support line. Imp does end up going down, or no, it's Commando who ends up going down here. Imp finds himself actually on the kill side of things here. A one-on-one here, Hanzo v Hanzo is going to get interrupted here by the Sigma of Swiftly. Are the Saints going to be able to keep on moving? It looks like they're going to be able to at least hold on, actually. Keep things safe for just a little bit longer. Oddly enough, it's going to be Imp finding himself a double in that battle. Who says the support can't frag? He's definitely there as well, putting in just as much work as the rest of the Saints.
I mean, you gotta give like a shout out again to Andy. Like, you're looking at the CMU lineup, and their supports are just getting caught at the beginning of every single fight. It's making it incredibly hard for this tank line to even play the map. But Andy, even despite these unwinnable looking circumstances, is winning out on 1v1s. He got the kill onto Commanda, and then also got the 1v1 onto Billable. What a huge start to the team fight. The Dragon Strike on to the Sigma ultimate, I believe. George commits his ultimate as well. That's going to be nearly the team wipe for CMU. They should be able to cap this here, and CMU actually managed to close this out 1-2.
All right, denying St. Clair the 3-0 here in this series. Beautifully done there from CMU. They looked so comfortable here on Dorado, avoiding this clean sweep of sorts. And sure enough, it's going to be Andy here with the play of the game, and it's not actually going to even involve the Dragon Strike. It does take down Available as he was firing his Dragon Strike, so quite nice. Looks to chase down one more. Can he find himself a third? Fourth, actually? Absolutely. Just one of the many highlights that we've seen Andy have here in this series. Just solid play overall there from him and the rest of the squad. CMU definitely turned it around on that final game. Unfortunately for the series itself, though, it's going to be a little bit too little too late. But better one than none here in the NECC.
Right. I mean, it's not often that you see a team dominantly win 2-0 and then still have to award the MVP medal to the guy on the other side. Like, Andy just absolutely popped off all 3 games, despite the unfortunate results, obviously, for CMU. St. Clair coming away with it with a 2-1 win, but really just getting defeated in a lot of areas by this DPS core from CMU. There's a lot that we can take away from this game as a team. You know, you got your win under your belt. It's going to look good for you moving closer to playoffs. It's good for your win record, but you got to be looking at this and saying, man, like, this is one of those wins that you can VOD review. You know, Esports talk a lot about how when you do VODs, like, we're always VOD reviewing losses. You know, maybe we can learn from our wins. If there was ever a win to learn from, this is the one for St. Clair. Watch this back and see how much space you gave this team, because teams that are a little bit stronger, that are a little bit more coordinated, that have better positioning on their supports, they're not going to let you get away with the things you got away with today. So a little bit of a silver lining for CMU and a little bit of a sour spot for St. Clair. But at the end of the day, it's NECC Overwatch. We love to watch it. We love to cast it. We love to have it here on the Saints Gaming channel.
Absolutely. It was a blast nonetheless, and it's good to see the Saints on the winning side of things again. Of course, always something to be improved on, but at the end of the day, they still ended up cleaning it up in the end here. I'm just quickly taking a look at the NECC schedule, actually. I want to try and see if I can find the next opponent here for St. Clair in this league specifically, because there is 2 leagues going on for them at the same time, of course. There's NECC and there's also Play Versus, so I don't want to confuse things up. Florida Atlantic is who we're going to be playing up next. That's going to be next Thursday. So we'll probably get the opportunity to see that match here on stream, but we'll have to see as the week goes on. But what we can take a look at in regards to schedules is what is coming up just later on this week. Of course, later on tonight, we'll get to see Shadi, your squad, is going to take the field once again, take the Rift in playoff action in the Upsurge Minor League. You excited for that?
Absolutely. It's going to be a great game. I was up this morning doing some draft prep, you know, feeling pretty good about our match tonight. The guys seem really excited about today's game. It should be a good one. And winning this one will push us even closer and closer to playoffs. So always excited for some League of Legends action with my team.
Yeah, top 16 or something right now, I believe, is the matchup. So making top 8 in your first time in this league would be absolutely huge. But the rest of the matches on screen here, of course, Friday at 9 p.m., some classic late-night collegiate R6 action. Sure to join us for that. Then on Saturday, we do have at 7 o'clock, it's going to be the Activision Blizzard Call of Duty Cold War Collegiate League. Sure to tune in for that one as well. Our Call of Duty squad looking for the rebound after a couple hard losses to a couple of tough teams. Some close losses, too, in fact. I know that game on Tuesday was absolutely nuts. So I'm looking forward to seeing the COD squad back in action. Then on Sunday at 5, Face It, CSGO Contenders returns. Team also looking to kind of rebound a little bit. Luck hasn't necessarily been in their side so far here in this league. I'm looking forward to seeing what they can pull out on Sunday. Then on Monday, as of right now anyway, as long as there's no reschedule, the Upsurge Minor League playoffs will continue there. And in fact, I should probably ask you, are these playoffs double elim?
I'm actually going to have to look into that. I believe it's single elim. But you know what? Keep it up on that schedule because you already know how that's going to go down. It's all good. It is what it is. You know, we've come so far with this league. We've done so well so far that, you know, I'm really excited for how tonight's going to go, and I have all my faith in the guys to get a nice win for us today.
I was going to make the comment, so I'm supposed to leave, or I was going to make the comment, I'm supposed to leave this on the schedule then, right? But you were already on top of it. I didn't even need to say it, so nicely done there. But with that, we do have a couple of thank yous to give out. Shadi, can we give a couple thank yous out to our sponsors here tonight?
Absolutely. Big thank you to the St. Clair College Alumni Association, PC Outlet, Second School of Business and IT, St. Clair College, Tim Hortons, and the St. Clair SRC. You guys know it already. We say it every time. We couldn't do this without you. So we're all very happy to have your sponsorship and your support for these streams and broadcasts. And of course, a big thank you to our viewers as well for everyone just showing up and supporting these streams. You know, that view count, like, it really does matter. The more viewers we have, the better quality broadcasts we can bring to you. The more often we can do this, the more opportunities we can provide to students such as myself and all of you guys. So it's a really big thing that you guys are doing, and we really appreciate you giving your time, your love, and your energy to the teams and to the broadcast. So big thank you, of course, to everyone there. Don't forget to like and follow us on Twitter as well, Saints Gaming CA. Support the social media, helps us get our name out there, helps us do bigger broadcasts. You know, we just love to be able to do this for you guys, and we love that you guys like what we do. So really, it goes hand in hand that way.
Absolutely. It's always a pleasure, whether there's 50 people or more in the chat or whether there's 5. Always happy to bring the collegiate esports action, but it definitely sounds a lot better when I can say 50. I'm not going to lie, but at the same time, it's all awesome, and at the end of the day, being able to do this for everybody day in and day out. So big thank you, of course, to Shadi for joining in on the commentary desk. Considering, too, you have the match later on tonight, thank you for prepping prior to, and then being able to still join me here on the commentary desk. If only all students had your time management, we wouldn't have many problems here on the Saints side of things, now would we?
Hey, that's a lot of shade you're throwing out there. That's the whole damn canopy looking at the whole school. No, it's all good. We're getting close to the midterm. You know, everyone's up front. Everyone's a little stressed out. So it's good that we're able to have some of those fun show up or watch your friends listen to yourself. So best of luck to everybody who's getting close to the midterm.
Unfortunately, it seems like the mic has seemed to have gotten shot, but that's going to be our cue to close out here for now. So, of course, big thank you to everybody for tuning in. Be sure to join us again at 8 o'clock for some Upsurge Minor League of Legends playoff action. It'll be myself as well as Matt there for the commentary side of things. And then, of course, Shadi's going to be coaching. Best of luck later on tonight, and we'll catch you all later on.